Hey everyone, it's Kuru418, and I'm going to be talking about Final Fantasy XIV. Specifically, how I got into the game, how after I left I got back into the game, and why I love the game so much. So, this is from the perspective of somebody who doesn't play a lot of MMOs. I played World of Warcraft for I think like a month back when I was in, I want to say high school, maybe like my freshman year, but I didn't stick with it for very long. Not because I didn't enjoy it. I had nothing to base it off at the time. That was my technically my first MMO. I think I usually say that Final Fantasy 14 is, since that's the one I stuck out with more. But at the time, I just had a really crappy internet and I didn't have a gaming PC. The computer I tried to play it on was just like really slow. It kept lagging, so I can't really give a fair critique of that game. And plus, like I said, I'm not somebody who's big into MMOs aside from Final Fantasy 14. So it's not really fair for somebody like me to give like an honest critique or comparison. But a couple years later, like way after, no, I was still in high school when I played Final Fantasy 14. So my first experience with it was A Realm Reborn. I didn't know about the original drop of the game because I've never been a big Final Fantasy fan either. Like, I know about some of the games. I played through the remake of Final Fantasy VII, but like, I don't think I've really played any other games. My brother plays through a lot of them, so most of the stuff I know about it is through him. But like, I've never been a huge Final Fantasy, buff either. When I saw the game, I just thought, hey, this will be interesting. I can't remember if it was like my cousin who recommended it, or maybe I saw a commercial or something. I think, right, it was a free trial because I figured it was free. Let me go ahead and give it a shot. So, like I said, started back in high school. It was A Realm Reborn. I didn't know anything about 1.0 or the disaster launch there. But it was the first MMO I stuck out. And it was fun back then. It was fun enough, at least for me, to play through like the original content. But I kind of hit a wall. And also, like, I didn't really have the attention span for it the first time around. So a lot of the story was really lost on me. Like, I got the gist of it. I knew the Guardians were the bad guys, and then you had like the Ascians. But like, there's a lot more stuff that I noticed when I played through because back when I was in high school, like, I didn't pick up on certain details and plot point. I didn't have as much of an appreciation for world building and story building as I did like a little later. But I ended up dropping it after I defeated like the main storyline because I wasn't in a guild or a free company. I didn't really have any experience. My cousin, I don't think he played the game either at that time, so he wasn't someone I could go to. My older cousin is usually like, when he's informed on a game and I'm not, I can usually go to him, and that's how it's pretty much been since we were little. But I kind of got stuck because I didn't know anything about how to get like more advanced gear, the item level, how to increase my item level or whatnot. So I kind of just hit a wall, and eventually I just dropped the game because I couldn't figure out what else to do. Not a couple years later, honestly, it was actually a while later. It was it was after Shadowbringers came out. I went to go see a movie, and all of a sudden I see a commercial for Shadowbringers, and it was the commercial with Tom Holland and, God, I forget the other guy's name. That I don't want to just say black comedian because that's just, I mean, that doesn't narrow it down like at all. Let me see here if I can look it up right quick. I've got the commercial up, but I don't know why I thought typing in the name was gonna. Oh, Hannibal Buress, that's his name. Okay, so yeah, it was a commercial with Tom Holland and Hannibal Buress, and I was thinking to myself, like, wow, this game is still around, because I knew other Final Fantasy games had come out since then, or at least I knew they were coming out. Like 15, I know they were working on that. One game had come out since then. Let me like clarify that. And I think they're waiting for 16, which I'm interested in, because the same writers that did Final Fantasy 14 are apparently working on that. So I feel like for that, the story alone might just be worth it. But yeah, I saw that commercial, and I'm thinking to myself, man, this game is still around. I didn't know that. I'm like, I used to play that. Well, let me go back and check it out, because I never would have imagined there were some game franchises I really like that I'll see them pop up in some places and I'm just kind of surprised. Like when I see Street Fighter commercials on TV, like Street Fighter, and it's not to say that Street Fighter is not a popular game. Like it's probably the most popular fighting game, or at least like the most maybe well known. It's got icon status. Like games like Tekken, Street Fighter. But like other games, you'll see commercials for them, or you'll see advertisement in a certain place, and you're just kind of surprised, like, oh, okay, I guess it's getting a little more clout around it. So I decided, well, let me look this up and see, what's happened since then. And I looked up the Shadowbringers trailer, and I was like, whoa, I didn't know what was going on in the trailer. I had no idea. But I was shocked, because I'm like, this kind of looks amazing. I want to know what's going on. So I talked to my brother, and we talked for a little bit about seeing if we wanted to jump back into the game. And eventually we said we did, because we used to play the game together back when we were in high school. And we agreed that yeah, we should give it another shot. So we jumped back into the game, and it had been so long I didn't remember at all how to play. So my brother tried to just pick up his older character, and I told him, like, dude, we might as well just make new characters, because we don't remember anything about it anyway, and like, we shouldn't be jumping back into this at level 50. Let's just make a new character. He didn't want to do that. Eventually he ended up having to do that, but we both end up starting over, and I played back through A Realm Reborn, and some stuff I remember like immediately. I remember like the sounds and all of that, and there was other stuff I paid a bit more attention to and saw more detail in. A lot of the political stuff in the game, within the world of the game anyway, was very interesting to me. And I had a new appreciation when I played through A Realm Reborn. One of the things about the game that people tend to tell you is that A Realm Reborn is kind of a slog and it's hard to get through. And I never got that, and I've heard other people say they don't understand it either. I think what it is that the later parts of the game are just so good. A Realm Reborn is good. It's just that the rest of the game ends up getting so much better. It doesn't seem good in comparison. But A Realm Reborn, especially since they cut a lot of unnecessary stuff out apparently, it didn't feel like a slog to me. I enjoyed it, and I definitely enjoyed the cutscenes and the stories that led into the next expansion. Like, that's when it really started to kick off. Because like I said, I was enjoying myself through A Realm Reborn, and when I started to get to Heaven's War, I was like, man, like, this is amazing. I don't remember any of this. I don't think I got this far. And the story just immediately sucked me. And another thing is, I appreciated the world building a lot more when I played through it, because that's probably one of my favorite aspects in storytelling is world building. If you create a fantasy world, I love learning about the lore. I love learning about like the settings, how things work. That's probably why One Piece is one of my favorite anime, because the world building in that show is amazing, and the world building in Final Fantasy XIV is amazing. The relationships between the three city-states that you start off in, the relationship later on to the other cities, the other lands that you travel to, it's all extremely interesting, and it's interesting to see it all come together and see how everything works in this. But I just got immediately hooked. I got sucked into the story, and I'm just like, man, I cannot wait to play through the rest of this. And the thing is, I looked it up because, I saw the Shadowbringers trailer. So I was a couple expansions behind. I don't know much about MMO, so I didn't know like all the details about all these different expansions and whatnot. And I saw, okay, there's 3 expansions I gotta get to in total. Heaven's Ward, Stormblood, and then Shadowbringers. Each and every one of those is amazing. Like, I just, the story, the characters, the motivations of the characters, the allies that you make along the way. It's just such an amazingly crafted thing. And my brother eventually stopped playing. He's still got his account and he says he wants to play through the rest of the game, but I guess he's just taking a pretty long break or whatever. I'm still hooked. I'm still like doing the daily roulettes. I still go on, and even with me being caught up with the current content, it's still fun to play for me to log in. And some days, like, I'll be like, I don't really feel like playing. But that's another cool thing about the game is it's not one of those things where if you stop playing for a while, you just fall behind and there's no hope of catching up again. No, you totally can. So I will say this: I played through the main story scenarios, and then I went back and did the raids, and the Bajan Southern Front and things like that, and that was incredibly fun. If you're gonna pick up the game, which I highly recommend, I'll say this: play through the it's more fun. I'm not. You can play however you want to, but I will say this: the game is far more enjoyable if you play the content as it was intended to come out. So play through the Cores of Bahamut after you beat A Realm Reborn. Play through, the Alexander and the Omega Trials and all that. Like, it's just... And the thing is, like, the side content in the game adds to the world building. And later on when you're playing through the game, like, you appreciate that. There are moments where somebody will make a reference to what was an optional raid, and it's not like if you don't know it then you just completely lose track of the story, but you see that and there's an appreciation for, okay, you actually brought that back into play, and it matters. And it definitely matters later on in Endwalker because so much of it comes together. And like I said, you don't have to complete it to be able to enjoy the story. You can not do that content for the most part. You cannot do that content and still very much enjoy it. But I feel like you have so much more of an appreciation for it if you do. It's kind of like if you're really into the Marvel movies, you won't have to watch every single Marvel movie to enjoy like all the Avengers movies. There's some of them obviously you have to do, like the main ones like you have to watch, but like, if you missed Ant-Man or something like that, you still be able to piece it together, but it does add to it. It makes it more enjoyable, and it's the same thing here. I would say the storytelling in this, like, and I like Marvel movies, but it definitely surpasses Marvel movies. I can't shortchange the story on this enough. I've heard a lot of people say, compare to World of Warcraft, like the actual, I guess the combat system, like the global cooldown from the moves is better. But again, I'm not a big MMO person. Like, I don't know all the, one-to-one details like that, so I wouldn't be able to give a fair critique on that. The gameplay feels pretty fun to me. I use a console to play the game, so yeah. But just wanted to make a short video on like how I got into Final Fantasy XIV and why I love it so much, and why I think you should give it a chance. Because if you enjoy good story, if you enjoy world building, I would recommend playing it. And if you want to, like, if any of my mutuals out there, or like you just want to look me up on the game or whatever, feel free to hit me up. Honestly, you can play it as a single player if you want to. If you want to just play through the game solo without much interaction, that's totally fine. I'm in a free company now. We don't interact with each other all that much. We help each other out every now and then. But yeah, it's a really fun experience. the socially, the game, like a lot of people, they're very friendly towards each other. A lot of the slack that the insults and stuff that you get on a lot of other games, you won't really find here. People are patient with new players. Like when I was a new player, I will never forget this experience. It was my first time running a certain dungeon, and I didn't know all the move sets. Like I didn't know everything that I had in my arsenal. The game was a little different from when I played it, where you had like cross abilities that you could get from other classes, and there was ability I apparently needed from a different class that I didn't have yet. I was supposed to be tanking, and there was ability. I was a warrior. There was an ability I needed to get from the paladin class that I didn't have. So somebody was kind of giving me grief because they're just like, man, you're not taking off the enmity quickly enough, the aggro from the enemies quickly enough. Like, why am I the one tanking? And somebody else stepped up because they knew, and they were just like, dude, back off, chill. And he talked to me. He's just like, what abilities do you have? And I explained to him what abilities that I have. He's like, all right, well, try to keep doing this. It's okay. He's just like, I'll take aggro if you can't handle it. And I thought to myself, wow, like that was really, because and everybody else told the other dude to back off. They're just like, dude, chill. It's his first run. He obviously didn't know. Back off a little bit. And the dude backed off. And I can probably count the number of like bad experiences I've had with other people on one hand in this game. The community is known for being pretty friendly, which is not to say that you'll never run into anyone, but like most people are very polite and they're willing to help you. So yeah, I give this game nothing but pretty much my highest recommendation. I'm trying to get some of my other friends into it too, but if this video gets anybody to give it a shot, or like you just appreciate, also appreciate the game and the sentiments and all of that, then I guess it was worth making. Alright, Kuru418 out. Hope you guys have a good one.